almost 3 years ago, this spring, I believe. He came like many of us do, broken, at their wits' end, not knowing what to do. And I was holding some meetings in my barn during COVID because a lot of the churches, places were shut down. And, I'd cracked the big door and I had hand sanitizer and we kept 6 feet apart. But it amazed me because he kept coming back. Amidst all of that, we take for granted we have all the meetings we have available to us. And when something like COVID hits and it shuts it down, it truly is amazing to see people get and stay sober during that time. So he's been an inspiration to me. We've had many great conversations. He's actually helping one of my family members out that's struggling right now because I asked him to, and he said yes, first thing out of his mouth. He works a good program, and I think he carries a good message, and you're about to hear it tonight. Please give me a warm applause for Floyd.
Time doing this, and I can tell you it does not get easier. My name's
Lift that
Floyd.
mic up, brother.
I'm an alcoholic. My
Floyd.
sobriety date is August 1st, 2020. I think to start, I'd like to say congratulations to the birthdays or anniversaries, and to the ones that are new. We've got sobriety in this room is 30 plus years, and you have something in common with everybody here today. We work 24 hours. You got today, everybody here, whether it's 1 day, 1 year, 8 years, 30 years, we have today. I remember early on, I was struggling with people with long-term sobriety. I just remember when somebody said they had 15 or 20 years, I thought it was bullshit. Because I couldn't stay sober that day. And a little guy in that meeting pulled me aside and said, Floyd, can you stay sober tonight? Can you go home and put your head on the pillow sober tonight? And I said, I think so. He said, good, come back and we'll do it again. So I offer that to you for the new people. We work a program of being rigorous honest, and to be rigorous honest, I will tell you I do not want to do this.
You can do it.
Not just for nervousness, but dealing with some personal issues. I've got this ridiculous workload right now, and then preparing for this. I am a ball of nerves, and I will let you know that I am a crier, so prepare for me to make it uncomfortable. I do not cry like a woman or a child. They do it freely, unabandonedly. I do not. I fight it every step of the way, and I do it full of shame. Anyway, I cry ugly, so just brace yourself. Anyway, so I'm here to share my experience, strength, and hope, which for this alcoholic, my strength is a God in my life, a higher power of my understanding, good sponsorship in this program. My hope is the 12th step and the 5th tradition, to be the hand of AA wherever I go. And not to the next sick and suffering. Growing up, I'm sure just like everybody, you heard the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And I answered with all the cliche answers. I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman. That was mostly because we lived in Detroit, bordering Redford, and at that time in the early 80s, if you worked in the city of Detroit, you had to live in the city of Detroit, and there was 5 blocks that were just cops and firemen, cops and firemen. And so I wanted to be that. And at some point in middle school, I told my mom I wanted to be a priest. She laughed at that because she would have told you if she was still here that when she asked me why, I told her I wanted to drink the wine. Early signs. So like a lot of people, but not all. I had a pretty good childhood. I played sports. I had friends. We did a lot of things, but I grew up in an abusive home. My dad was a good man, but he was verbally abusive, could be physically abusive. And I just grew up feeling like he bullied us. And I felt like I'm the middle child of 3, and I felt like I took a brunt of that. Part of that was because I grew up freakishly fast. In that I was a target. I got picked on a lot. I got made fun of a lot, and which made me very insecure, wildly insecure, and very hypersensitive. And I was never taught how to handle my emotions, so when that insecurity and that hypersensitivity mixed, and I didn't know what else to do, I would start to cry, and then people would make fun of me, and then we're throwing fists, right? And it was just this crazy cycle. Moving forward, around the age of 12, I got sent home from school for one of those incidents. Knowing I was gonna have to face the consequences from my father, I broke into the liquor cabinet, and that was my first drunk and puking. And despite all of that, I just remember, even after being hungover at 12, I just remember that for that time, as soon as I took that drink, nothing else really mattered. I had that numb feeling. Everything was okay. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was okay. And that would become a problem much later. Going through my teen years, I didn't drink a lot, but every time I drank, it was to excess. It was blackout or bust. You know, whether that didn't always mean puking and passing out, but it was, I just did things I didn't remember. I would be told stuff. I got really good at lying. Because of my dad, I would get sent home from school, detentions, and suspensions. I learned how to forge my mom's name, and I didn't get out of it. I would have to serve that stuff. Where we lived was 12 blocks away from the school, and I would serve my detention, and I would get out, and I would run a block, walk a block, run a block, walk a block, all the way home, get in, do my chores real quick, and sit down and do my homework. My parents, my dad worked at GM, the parts plant in Livonia before it closed, and my mom worked across that, which is at Levan Schoolcraft. And my mom worked across the expressway at a mother house for nuns. She was a nurse's aide, and they drove to and from work every day, and they got home at 3:45 every day. And as long as I got home, got my chores done, and sat down to the table, they didn't know anything, and I was okay with that. And so lying for self-preservation just became a norm for me. I grew up in a Christian home. We went to church. I had an understanding of God. I had a faith, what we were taught. And that led, that kept me pretty, not on the straight and narrow, but I would act out and I would do my own thing. And I always came back. My grandmother and my mom, they taught about prayer and all this stuff. And I always just felt like I didn't want to get too far away from what I was taught or from our beliefs. And I would always come back. And I always just felt like if I started acting out and using a lot, that after some time, it's like, okay, I've gone too far. And I would come back to church. And come to find out from an open talk, if you guys do listen to open talks from other people, a guy by the name of Blind Dave, great story. But he had said one time, he talked about the three-step shuffle, but in the church. And I did that. I did that in the church before I even knew what a three-step shuffle was. But in the church, it was this. It was I would behave a certain way, and I would go out and do my thing, and figure, okay, I've gone too far, so I'd come back, right? And then I would do the altar call when you go to church, and I would repent of my sins. Well, step one, I confessed that I'm a sinner, then my life was unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than me could save my soul. 3, turned my will and my life over. But the church never did anything past that, and it wouldn't take long before I was back slipping, or in the church they like to call it backsliding, and I'd be off and I'd just slip into another binge or do whatever I was doing. And that was because there was no 4th step. The 4th step is crucial in this program, that inventory, and we'll get to that. I would always hide my drinking. Moving through, even in high school, I got bullied. My brother and I, we were bullied. And we were always seemed outnumbered. We moved from Detroit to Whitmore Lake. It just was always different odds. And so I just, in my mind, I had made up that when I moved from Whitmore Lake in 1990 to Alabama, I was there for about a year, but I said, this is not happening ever again. And I drew a line, and it caused a lot of problems. My drinking took off, violence was a regular thing. And then in 99, I got sent to timeout because of that. I got out. Some things had changed. You know, when you go to timeout, if you've ever been there, you get that jailhouse religion. Most of it is just, you just want to get out of your cell, you know. But you get that jailhouse religion. You're on fire, and you come back out, and everything's fine. I quit smoking because I didn't have a choice. Quit drinking, quit doing all these things, and everything was good. But it didn't take, I mean, within a year, I was back to doing some of those behaviors. Those feelings kept creeping in. Because of, you know, I've lived a life of insecurity and fear, restless, irritable, discontent, you know? And what Bill says, self will run riot, I was all of that. I think I was in my late 30s, early 40s when my dad passed away. And I was left with a lot of unprocessed feelings, resentments, things unsaid. And while I was in a time of abstinence, I wasn't drinking at that time, but I was still drinking. I was dry drunk. I remember working late at work, and for some reason, I had the impulse to go to the party store. I got 2 24-ounce cans, came back, I did those while I did my work, and I thought, I could do that. And it just kind of became a regular thing. Then I'm drinking on my way home. And it just spiraled out of control. And for the next several years, it just got worse and worse and worse. So it snowballed from there to sneaking, lying, manipulating to get what I wanted, then gaslighting my wife about it, my drinking, and making her feel crazy that she should even question me about it. I was an abusive asshole to my wife and children, only thinking of me, selfish, self-centered to the core, self-will run riot, as Bill describes. I was disconnected from my kids emotionally, mostly because they say when you first drink, you're emotionally stunted. Remember, that was like 12. Arrested in development. So I was basically a man-child, adult on the outside, and in many other ways, I go to work, pay bills, cut the lawn, superficial crap, but a child emotionally. So when my kids are preteen or teenagers and they would act out, my attempt to discipline was a preteen or teenager yelling at a preteen or teenager. My wife was constantly on me saying, Floyd, speak to the problem, not the person, because I would attack you. We're not talking about a solution. You are this, you are that, you know. Very, you know, immature. In fact, later on, I think it was 2019, I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but this was right before I came in, you know, in my drunkenness, my daughter needed a ride home from work. And I picked her up. I don't remember how it started. We were sharing comments and words, and I had said something, and she had punched me in the arm, and she did it twice. And while it didn't really have effect, you know, that effing ego, you know, you can't let that go. And I reached over while I was driving, I knocked what she had in her hand out of her hand, and she leaned forward to pick it up, put it back in the bag, and being the bully that I was, I had to let her know she couldn't do that. And I had reached over and I grabbed her by her neck and I forcibly held her there. She had to know, right? I'm a man, damn it, you can't do that. And no, I was an asshole. I was abusive. And it was wrong. I was an animal. I was just, I don't know, I was in a dark place. That night, my wife asked me to leave, and I spent the next 6 months at my brother's place in his spare bedroom, sleeping on the floor. My drinking got worse, and when my brother's loan came through for his house, because my drunkenness was bothering him too, he said I wasn't going with him. So I burnt that relationship also. For financial reasons, my wife agreed to let me move back in the house. We have a house with an attached garage, and in that attached garage was converted to an apartment.
2-bedroom apartment, and I became roommates with my father-in-law, which turned out to be actually really good. We didn't spend a lot of time together. He would go up north to Maya, Luzerne in the summertime, and he would go to Homosassa Springs in the wintertime, and we hardly ever saw him. But as he got older, he had this lung issue, and it got worse and worse and worse. And trying to help him out, we bonded. I actually got to bond with my father-in-law. That was cool. Anyway, so anyway, I lost my place. That kept going. I just kept getting worse. Even though I was in the house, but my wife, when she had asked me to leave, she said, "You need to work on yourself." My idea of work on myself was to call my doctor and tell her that I have anxiety and I have depression. So she put me on a mood stabilizer, and then I was seeing a shrink, and it was all for a show. We talked about everything but my drinking because I wasn't an alcoholic, and it didn't get better. It just got worse. And then it finally came to a head on July 31st. I was online with my brothers and friends, and someone called me and asked me if I wanted to go to a bonfire, and I said, hell yeah. I was already a fifth in the bag, stopped and got more on the way, finished that off, and I don't remember the rest. I don't remember falling down twice. I don't remember hitting my head on the house. These are all things I was told later. I don't remember being told to give my keys up and refusing to because I was fine. I don't remember the drive home. I definitely don't remember stopping at Taco Bell. My wife had asked me later, "Do you remember having a conversation with me in the driveway?" No. It was like a 40-minute conversation. Nope. And I said, "Did I sound drunk?" She said, "No." I was a high functioning alcoholic. I learned to hide it really well. But now that all this stuff happened, texts are flying, things are happening. I just remember after waking up the next morning, still denying, still rationalizing that when I came out, because of all the text and all this stuff was going on, I had to do a walk around my truck. I thought I hit somebody. Did I kill somebody? What is going on? And that's when I realized I went to Taco Bell. I had to go to work that morning. I opened the door and it looked like a crime scene. I got food. There was Taco Bell stuff. I'm like, what in the hell happened in here? But I guess I had the munchies or something. So my wife said, "You're going to rehab or we're getting a divorce." And she gave me a number. And this is a God thing. Oh, let me back up real quick before I get into the God thing. So I am, as far as, before it got to that point, I'm sitting in a chair one night drunk. And I just remember praying, right? Because it always came back to church and God. And I just remember praying, "God, I can't do this." I was ready to kill myself. I just wanted to die, okay? But I'm a coward. And so I had just resigned myself to drinking myself to death. I mean, that would only take, 20, 30 years? I didn't want to kill myself because while I wanted to end the misery, I didn't want my family to go without. And if I do this, then they don't collect on any health insurance, right? Or any of the life insurance. Not that there's a lot, but they probably need it. So while I'm having this conversation in my head, I prayed. And I said, "God, if you want me sober, I can't do this on my own." But I remember my grandma and my mom saying, "Be careful what you pray for." So I started bargaining with God. And I'm not saying that this is going to work for everybody, but I got to tell you, this happened. This happened. This is my experience, strength and hope. So I'm like, okay, you're going to have to intervene. However, I don't want to go to jail. I'm not afraid of jail. I've been there, but I don't want to do that again. That sucks. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to get a divorce. I don't want to lose my job. Right? I'm putting these conditions. I think God's just up there checking, going, okay. That was like in June, and then July 31st, all hell broke loose. She tells me I'm going to rehab or we're getting a divorce, and then she puts the caveat on it, and if you fight me on this, I'm gonna call your boss and tell him you're driving his truck. It's a company truck. You're driving his truck drunk or drive by you're drinking. Well, can't have that happen. So what happens? I call the number. They never call me back. They did not call me back. No one was there when I called, and nobody ever called me back. Guess I'm not going there. So then later on that, this is on a Saturday. It's probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My boss calls me out of the blue. We were doing a big project right across the street from the Detroit Zoo. It's called the Griffin Building. And at that time, labor sucked. It was hard to get people to work. It still is. And we're throwing money at this to get people on the job site. And I'm freaking out that I'm gonna lose the contract. So my boss calls me to talk me off the bridge. And I'm like, why not get in front of her on this, right? Because I'm good at manipulating. And so we talked through all that, and I told him, I said, listen, man, I said, I need to talk to you about something. He said, what? And I said, I've been lying. And he said, about what? And I said, I'm an alcoholic. And I only said that because she told me I was getting rehab, but it sounded right. So I said, I'm an alcoholic. And I said, I've been drinking, and I've been driving your truck drunk. And there was a pause. Now, just know that at this time, I had been there like 27 years. So this wasn't like I was a new guy. And he says, you know, Floyd, I'm not happy about it, but I understand. He has a family member in the program, and she was all but written off by her family. She got in the program. He says, I don't know. She did like 100 effing meetings in 100 days. Do that, and I'll check on you. Which then I found out was the 90 and 90. And so I told my wife, I said, listen, I'm gonna go to a meeting, and I'm not going to rehab. I said, but I'm gonna commit to doing 90-90. Now the problem with that is, as a good alcoholic, I committed to doing 90 days, 90 meetings in 90 days. I didn't commit to anything after that. So that was my finish line, right? So I put a finish line out there. So I go to my very first meeting, and this is God in action. So we don't get it. I still had to prove that. We still haven't gotten a divorce. I have a lot of yets. I didn't kill anyone. I have never been, and that was my MO. I can't go into bars because people mess with me. I can't drink with friends and family because then they'll realize how bad it is, right? So where do I drink? In my truck during the day, you know? And I never got a DUI. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't and other people got 4. I can't explain that. Luck of the draw, I don't know. But it's out there. I go back out, that'll probably be the first thing that happened to me. And it'll be a DUI while running a family of 4 off the road. I don't want that. So I haven't been divorced. I didn't lose my job. I didn't have to go to rehab. And I didn't hurt anybody. So I go to this meeting, and this is a God thing. We talk about God wings. I go to a meeting a couple miles from the house for no other reason than I'm lazy and I'm not going to drive 30 minutes. Here's one right down the street. I'll go to that one. We used to go to a church in Brighton called Brighton Asp, and they had this basketball program. It was a rec league basketball program, and I coached there, and I enjoyed it. And turns out I get a call. That was on a Saturday night. I get a call Sunday from this guy, Ryan, and he leaves me a message, you know, that he saw me at this meeting. I'm freaking out. I'm looking at my wife and go, do you remember Ryan? He called me. He saw me at the meeting. Like, he knows, right? And she's like, Floyd, he was at the meeting. Oh, yeah. I guess that makes sense. Anyway, and that started the road. And we started doing the steps, and we started going to 90 meetings. Somewhere in between there, my ego was counting down the days because 90 days was the finish line. That's what I committed to. So be careful when you start this. Those coins that you get, those are not deadlines or finish lines. Those are mile markers. When you leave here and you're going down 96 or whatever road and you see mile marker 100.1, you're at 0.1 or wherever you're at. It's just another mile marker. We're on a journey. There is no end. There is no cure, right? All we're given is a daily reprieve based on our spiritual fitness. So, anyway, we did the 90-90. Somewhere in there, I was counting down those days, and I was looking forward to the end because things were kind of getting better at home. Things were kind of getting better at work. And my ego's chirping in my ear that, you know, after 90 days, you did what you said you were going to do. You know, we could probably slide a drink here or there. We could probably, and I cannot tell you what happened. I can't tell you if it was my higher power. Can't tell you if it was just in a meeting, but something clicked for me. And I started living the program, not just hearing the program. It's one thing to know the big book and to quote the big book. There's a lot of people that can quote the big book that if you really watch them, they're miserable. You're right? They are still restless, irritable, and discontent. I'm not taking anybody's inventory. You guys know people like that. And I didn't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. So for me, everything I prayed for happened. Everything that changed my life. And I believe that it is God's amazing grace at work in my life. The definition of God's grace is unwavering manner. Unwavering manner. Where to go? It is freely given. I don't deserve it, and I can't earn it. It's given freely. And the words of that, bear with me, song means so much in my life. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. And that's true in my life, man. So, how did I get there? For me, it's the steps. I'm really passionate about the steps. Step one, admitted we were alcoholic. Our lives became unmanageable. This step, we're told, is the most important. It's one I got to get right every day. Why? Because this is about surrender. It's not just saying, hey, I'm an alcoholic. I used to joke around and say I'm an alcoholic. Admitting it's part of the problem or part of the solution. No, not even close. For this alcoholic, it means I need to surrender daily. I need to get out of my way. And for that, bear with me. This means a lot to me. Unless he has accepted his devastating weakness and all its consequences. Until he so humbles himself, his sobriety, if any, will be precarious. Of real happiness he will find none at all. Proved beyond doubt by an immense experience. So this is a proven. This is one of the facts of AA life. The principle that we shall find no enduring strength until we first admit complete defeat is the main taproot from which our whole society has sprung out. I have to do that. I have to do that daily. In dignitaries, we work the 5 basics. I pray every morning to get out of my own way. I pray, in the morning, I have 2 prayers that I pray every day. God, I rise today to do your will. Grant me the knowledge of your will and the power to carry it out. Grant me patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. Grant me humility. Keep me sane and sober. Keep me in contact with your spirit. And the other one is, God, direct my thinking today. Let it be empty of self-pity, dishonesty, self-will, self-seeking, and fear. Inspire my thinking, decisions, and intuitions. Help me to relax and take it easy. Deliver me from doubt and indecision. Guide me through this day and show me my next step. Show me how to solve any problem, that I would be of maximum service to you and my fellow man. Your will, not mine. Those help me get out of my way. When I invite God in the morning, my higher power, and I don't care. I was raised in a church. If you're Buddhist, Taoist, whatever it is, I don't care. There's a guy at a meeting in Oak Grove that his higher power is this beautiful tree in his backyard. I don't care. A power greater than yourself that gets you out of your own way. I am my biggest problem. Everything in here that gets me twisted up, that is my problem, not religion. And for those that struggle with it, this is not a religious program. Yes, we talk about God. This is a spiritual program. Sorry. Where'd that go? Sorry, lost my spot. You know what, it probably doesn't really matter. Okay. Moving on. Hey, every day I surrender, every day I get out of my own way. It's no surprise that out of the 164 pages of the program, step one takes up basically 43 pages. It's that important. We have to get out of our way. We have to surrender our will. And when we surrender our will, you know, but if I'm not in charge, who is? Step two. Came to believe in a power greater than myself, could return me to sanity. Unlike a lot of people, 2 and 3 were not a struggle for me. I was raised in church, we already did that. I had a religious concept of God, but not a spiritual one. It's not the same in every case. So, for people that are atheists or agnostic or have real resentments towards God, there are people with real resentments towards God. Because how could this all-powerful, loving God not spare them from the pain of abuse, of assault, of cancer, of some traumatic incident? I don't believe it's God's fault. Life, we live on planet Earth. Life happens. That's part of our acceptance prayer. Accept life on life's terms. It doesn't say accept life on God's terms, right? Life on life's terms. There are days where life is my best friend. And then there's days where life is a bully and just gut punches me and gives me a wedgie for no reason. That stuff happens. We have good days. We have bad days. The reality is good things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to good people. We can't explain it. I'm not even going to try. It's above my pay grade. All I know is that when I have a need and I call out, I hear God in these meetings. I hear God through other alcoholics. I hear God in other people, in other people's problems, but other people's solutions. So just keep that in mind. Sorry. So in step 2, wait, what the heck did I just do? You know, when I was setting this up, I put markers down for myself, and now I can't find a damn one of them. 26. Oh, first, Alcoholics Anonymous does not demand that you believe in anything. So when we talk about coming to believe in a power greater than ourselves, they're not demanding. Remember, this is a program suggestion. Not demand that you believe in anything. All of its 12 steps are but suggestions. Second, to get sober and to stay sober, you don't have to swallow all of step 2 right now. It's okay to question it. It's okay to struggle with it. Not everybody gets it. Not everybody wants to. This is about the how and how it works. And somebody had spelled it out earlier. You know, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. 1, 2, and 3. I get honest with myself, and I can't do this. My life is unmanageable. I'm open to a power greater than myself. And 3, I'm willing. I'm willing to believe. I'm not willing. Some people just aren't willing to turn their will on their life over. But am I willing to believe that there's a power greater than myself? Be willing to believe that I could turn my will and my life over to something else? That's what we're talking about. You'll see willingness in a lot of these steps as you go through the big book of the 12 and 12, is being open-minded and willing. In my program, again, we do the 5 basics. While I don't go to meetings every day and miss calling my sponsors some days, I do pray every morning. I already told you those 2 prayers. Fellow dignitary once said that the action step of step 3, we're on to step 3, sorry, is the pause. God is in the pause, and that is at the end of step 3, when it says, in all times of emotional disturbance or indecision, we can pause, ask for quiet, and in the stillness simply say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will be done, not mine. That works in my life. There are times at work when I am spiraling out of control and I hit the reset button. You know, I can pray in the morning that God's will is in my life, but you know, there have been times where I've left God on the couch while I went to work, and you know, you flipping somebody off because they cut you off, or you know, or something happens. And but my program has got me to a point where it's like, okay, why was I so angry? Because anger is a secondary emotion, right? Well, what was it? You know, and if I'm honest with myself, most of the times it's fear and insecurity. Somebody rode up on me too close, made me afraid that they're going to hit me, made me afraid you're going to spin me out. Right? So now I'm afraid. What happens? Defensive wall goes up. Now I'm angry. Now I'm yelling at you. Now I'm flipping you off. I don't need to engage in any of that. But I'm getting better at not doing that because I'm getting better at recognizing that it's fear-based. It's all fear-based. When you get to step 4 and you look in that right column, fear, insecurity, sex relations, fear, insecurity. It has run my life. It's like a juggernaut. And I'm okay with saying, hey, listen, I've been afraid. I get afraid. I'm afraid. I'm terrified right now. And I'm mumbling. Anyway. So that prayer is the reset button. It's almost like that Staples. That was easy, you know. It works for me. I would say try it. And a lot of times when I say, God, I need your help. I need to be able to think in a straight line, because as other alcoholics you probably identify, I start focusing on this, and then I got this, and then I've got this, and then I pushed this off, and now I got this is a priority, but oh my God, I got to get back to this, and I don't even know where to start. And usually for me, when I get that way, I shut down. I become unavailable, or I just get angry, and I don't want to be that guy anymore. And I hit that reset button. God, I'm really struggling right now. If you could just help me think in a straight line, help me to put together what needs to happen first. 9 times out of 10, I get done with the end of the day and go, wow, I got a lot more done than I thought I was, or I thought I would. So, moving into step 4, made a searching and moral inventory of ourselves. This isn't as hard as people make it. The problem is that we don't want to go back and unearth the filth and the pain. But we do need to be accountable to the harm we've done to others and work through the resentments of the harms caused us. Get it all out. That's my advice. Get it all out. Here's your chance to be heard. A lot of us don't ever feel like we're heard. You have a captive audience in step 5. Get it all out. Get it out of the shadows and into the sun. All the ghosts, all the skeletons, the muck and the mire, get it all. Be brutally honest and be set free. We often brush over the sex inventory. I didn't really do a good sex inventory because I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to do with that. It's not about who you've had sex with, how often you've had sex. This isn't a sexologue, whatever. This is your behavior. This is your treatment of other people. But I do want to focus on it for a moment because I have another addiction, and I guess we'll call it adult content. And because of that, I'm a recovering porn addict, whatever. I have caused seemingly irreparable damage in my marriage and my family. It does cause a problem. This part of the inventory is big if you struggle with that. I guess I want to just say, if you're married or in a committed relationship and you're viewing this stuff and you're acting out, you're in this fantasy, you're cheating on your partner. You are committing that in your heart. I've done that. In my alcoholism, I made myself in pure alcoholic fashion, alcohologic as you have it would be called. In my alcoholism, I made myself believe that my wife didn't want to have relations with me regularly because she wanted me to cheat, so that I would so she could divorce me with cause. That's the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Even me saying it, I believed it. I believed she just was pushing me out. I can rationalize anything. The reality was she didn't want to have relations with me because I was a miserable SOB and abusive. I put my family through some dark times. Unbelievable, unavailable to my kids, going through their teen years because I was completely disconnected. The lights were on, but nobody was home. The other thing on this inventory, in how you treat people, what does that mean? Listen, if you want to have relations and they don't, do you pout? Do you throw a temper tantrum? Do you imply or threaten to get it someplace else? These are all manipulative. These are all gaslighting. These are all abusive things. And if you're doing that, that should be on there. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because my program for this alcoholic, I can't be sober, really sober. I can be abstinent or free of alcoholism, but if I'm doing this stuff, I cannot carry this shame and guilt and this secret and expect to stay sober for very long. Real sobriety. I haven't surrendered my will. I'm still hanging on to this stuff. I haven't completely surrendered. And I read it to you what Bill said. Without humility, without admitting this stuff, your sobriety is little if none. So for me, I guess the action step is just get it done. Fifth step, admit it to yourself to another human being, the exact nature of your wrong. Exact nature, don't bullshit. Get it out. My wife for years would tell me omitting facts is lying, which drove me nuts. Because I would leave out certain things, right, to better suit my needs, and if you're doing that, you're wrong. I was ready for God to get rid of anger, sarcasm, being confrontational, but God wanted to remove my lying spirit. I already told you, man, I lied over everything. And part of that was omissions and flat out lies to get my way, or self-preservation. It didn't matter. I was a liar. I still do it over stupid stuff. I'll be in the kitchen. What are you doing in the kitchen? Nothing. That's not true. You can hear me in there. I'm obviously getting a snack. I'm obviously eating something, right? Dude, I paid for it. Why can't I eat it? You can. Why can't I be honest about it? Because I'm a liar. Nothing. That's always, I grew up because of who my dad was, and at 53, I can't hide behind it. I have to be accountable, right? But it was always self-preservation. So as soon as somebody asks me a question that makes me feel, and it's not them, it's me, it's my internal struggle, that I feel awkward, I feel on the spot. My go-to is to lie, and I hate it. I don't want to do it. I've been working with my wife. When I do, I come back and listen, I'm sorry that, I lied. We had something, and I don't know what it was. And it was something, I lied about wanting to do something or how I felt about something, and had to go back. But it's all childhood trauma that, listen, Bill said it in the book. AA is not a cure-all. If you need outside help, get outside help, right? So take care of yourself. When I lie, though, I need to go back, blah, blah, blah. So it was one thing to be ready for God to remove my defects. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong one. Right? Bring that stuff out in the light and watch it shrivel and die. So step 6, we were entitled. It's funny how it amazes me. Step 6. This is where in the 12-12, this is where we separate the men from the boys, right? What a powerful step. In the big book, there's what, 2 sentences? 3 sentences? Same with step 7? 2 of the shortest, and yet it claims to be one of the most powerful. Why? Okay, so ready to give up my character defects, and I just talked about all the lying. But it's one thing to be completely ready, and then the other thing to ask for him to remove them. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. What does that look like? Dude, I got a great example. Last year on our way home from Minnesota from a conference, a deer ran into us, totaled our van, which really pissed me off because I was 2 payments away from having it paid off. It only had 150,000 miles on it, really good condition. I'm like, I got this for another 5 years, free. Nope. So now we got to get a van. We got to get another van. She wanted a van. We ended up with a Traverse. Whatever. It just happens. But the day that we're going to go to the dealership, and we had gone to a couple dealerships out here in Lansing, to Fenton. We decided we're going to go to La Pointe, whatever it is, La Fontaine in Fenton. We had been to the Chevy dealership in Howell, which is where we ended up. But anyway, so we're on our way. I am going crazy on the inside. I'm flipping out. I'm anxious. I'm insecure. I don't know jack crap about finance, okay? And I'm totally in my head thinking, I'm gonna blow this. I'm gonna get the wrong car, the wrong color. I'm gonna get the wrong finance. We're gonna pay through the nose. I'm gonna get taken advantage of. She's gonna think I'm not man enough, that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an idiot, right? And I'm just spiraling out of control. Okay, 7. So we leave for the dealership, and we didn't get to the stop sign at the end of the road. And I took my wife's hand at the stop sign and started praying. And I said, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know finance, and I'm afraid of being taken advantage of. I'm afraid Lisa won't respect me as a man if I get it wrong or fail. God, please take away my anxiety, my fear, my insecurity, and my doubt, and I will trust you will lead us in the right direction. We got to the dealership. We were there for, I don't know, a couple hours, test driving a couple cars. They were going to bring one in for us, and they didn't have what we wanted. We test drove the Traverse. They didn't have one. She would accept that. They're like, well, we don't have one. We'll bring one in. Be about an hour. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go. And I called the guy at the championship dealership in Howell, and I was like, hey, is that thing available? We went there. We ended up buying that car. It worked out. The test drive, everything worked out, and I really do believe, and I wasn't freaking out about it. I really feel like God answered me in that. And so that's what it looks like for me to work that. Step 8, made a list of people we had harmed, became willing to make amends to them. If you keep your step 4, you have a list. And don't count on that list. Pray and see if there's more. But you have a cheat sheet. But when you're writing those things out, just understand when you're ready to do it. It's one thing to make the list, and we'll get into step 9. You can't make appropriate amends if you're still defending your part. So if you're writing those names down, people that you owe an amends to, but in your head, you're still rationalizing your behavior. You're not there yet. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not there yet. And so then we get to step 9. We made amends to such people where possible, except for when to do so hurt them or others. About a month ago, my daughter comes in and out of town. She was in town, we're driving, and I don't remember how the subject got on the past, and I tried to make an amends, right? And I got a lesson in humility. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. But she had said that what I had did by grabbing her, that wasn't the only thing. She had a list of things. But the one thing she told me is that I had told her I wish she had never been born. And I said, I never said that. I would never say that. I didn't say that. She said, you did. And we went back and forth a few times, right? I argued it because I couldn't fathom saying that to my child. So I altered it. Listen, if I said that, nope, you said it. She wasn't buying it. She wasn't having it. So I hope when you do an amends, you have somebody that doesn't just sit there and take it. But she's like, no, you said it. If no. Okay, God, I need help. And so I basically stopped and I said, look, I was in a really bad place. Miserable, wanted to kill myself, restless, irritable, discontent. And in that misery, I just wanted people to be miserable around me. And I said things that hurt people and made them miserable. I can never take it back. I am so sorry. But that's not the truth. The truth is you're my daughter. and I love you, and I'm so proud of you. And I'll never say that again. We don't always, we hurt people in ways we don't even know. I hurt my family in ways I just can't believe I did. If you're gonna make an amends, you better, Harry tells me that this is an ego-deflating process, ego-deflating program, and if you're at that point in step 9, and you are not, your ego is still chirping in your ear, defending what you did. I heard Bob D one time say, if I have to defend it, explain it, rationalize it, or justify it, I'm wrong. And if you're defending it, when they're telling you, what you are making an amends for is your version of what happened. If they correct that and give you their truth, don't question it and don't tell them they're lying or that they're wrong. Accept it. You did that. That's their truth. You have to own it, and it ain't easy. I'm sorry, I'm running over. Step 10. Step 10, daily inventory. Right? I don't do the nightly inventory. I never have. However, I have learned that when I have a problem, when something comes up, my higher power speaks to me. My God consciousness. That was wrong. You did this. And once I get through the process of defending myself and rationalizing what I did, and I get real, I go back and I make that amends, right? Sandy Beach once said, you really have two choices. You're either going to make an amends or forgive them. That's really the only thing you can do. The arguing about it, there's no point. So I do that daily, in the moment. And the two things that Bill wrote in that and around that step: there is no cure. I'm given a daily reprieve if I am spiritually fit. And then when sanity returns, and I love this one, I stop fighting everyone and everything. Live and let live, right? You have your way of seeing it. I have mine, and we need to just be able to disagree with people. But when I say that, don't say I can accept you as a child, accept you as a child of God, and then at the next meeting when they're not there, assassinate them and talk about why they were wrong, how many reasons why they were wrong. That's BS. That's your ego. That is not God. So, real quick. So step 11, in meditation. Improve my conscious contact with God, as I understand praying for His knowledge and the power to carry out, which sounds like my morning prayer. But if you don't know, how do I know what God's will is? Well, look up the 4 absolutes. The 4 absolutes are honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. If you're praying for God's will, and it's some fantasy pops into your head, some impulse pops into your head that is not honest, pure, unselfish, or love, that's your ego, that's your will, that has nothing to do with God, okay? So there's your sounding board on what is God's will, what is my will. That's my interpretation anyway. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening, as there's all these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics who are still sick and suffering. I am the hand of AA, to the still sick and suffering, but I cannot be that hand if I don't live it. Bill says the spiritual program is not a suggestion. Remember, this whole program is suggestion, right? Except that. In the book, it's not a suggestion. The spiritual life is not a suggestion. It must be lived. I hang on to that. This whole thing. Many times, I just said that. Sandy Beach once said, many times throughout the book, it mentions action and more action. It isn't about your feelings. It isn't what you think. You have to do it or not. Try some more controlled drinking. I really don't want anybody to do that. Sandy Beach once said that if you were thinking about trying to control drinking, why don't you try walking off a cliff and try to control falling? Okay? It doesn't work. So, in close, I want to leave you with this reminder. I love this, and I'm sorry if I get choked up. Bear with me. Abandon. This is the whole program in a few sentences. Abandon yourself to God. 1 and 2 and 3. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. 4 and 5. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Well, that's 4 and 5. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit. and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge, and I trudge, the road to happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. That's all I got.